So hi everyone and welcome to today's student finance presentation. So my name's Liv and I work here at the University of Leeds as a Plus Programme Senior Officer. So firstly in today's presentation, I'm just going to be talking you through what are some of the costs that you can expect at university. So firstly, you're going to have your course costs. So the main one is going to be your tuition fees. So that's money that goes to the university to cover things like the teaching and libraries and everything like that, and that's paying for your course. But then you'll have some other costs. So you'll have textbooks, so whether you're doing an arts program or medicine or social sciences, you'll have some core books that you might need to purchase for your courses. And these can vary in price, and they're ones that you're going to have to kind of take into account when you're thinking about your costs. You'll also have your printing costs. So unlike at school or college, where you maybe will get some money towards your printing costs for the term, at the university, you'll have to actually pay for these yourselves. So if you're someone who likes to print out kind of notes when you're going into any teaching or looking at lectures and you want to take the slides in with you, if you'll be printing these out, these are little costs that can add up that you'll need to think about. You'll also have travel costs. So whether you're going to be living at home or whether you're going to be moving into university provided accommodation, you might want to travel onto campus in a variety of ways, such as the bus or train. And again, these are costs that can add up. You'll then have your living costs. So as we've mentioned, you will have travel. So if you are going to be living at home and being a commuter student, so traveling from the home to campus, you'll have to take into account your travel costs. Even if, say, for example, you're going to be moving into university accommodation, you may have it where you have a 9 a.m. seminar in the middle of winter and you want to get the bus in rather than face the 15-minute walk. So again, it's just little costs that add up like that you'll have to think about. You'll also have accommodation. So if you're going to be moving into university provided accommodation, you'll need to think about rent and cost towards that. Or if you are going to be living at home, maybe you're going to be contributing towards the household's costs and paying rent there. You'll also have bills. So all your standards, your electricity, your gas, your Wi-Fi, those are other things that you're going to have to start paying for, which will come out of your funding pots. You'll also have to pay for food. So whether that's you're getting Aldi and Lidl's finest food items, you're looking for budget, or the supermarkets are available, or whether it's just going out for a bit of a meal out, food is something you're also going to have to factor in as part of your weekly costs. You'll also have shopping. So regardless of whether that's kind of getting things for starting university, maybe you're moving out and you want new bedding, new pillows, you want some nice stuff for your room to make it feel like home, or whether you're going to be living at home and you just want to kind of upgrade your room or get some new equipment ahead of starting university. These are costs which might not be things that you think about at first. You'll also have your phone. So you might currently be on a family contract and maybe you'll be paying for this for yourself as you go to university. But that's another cost which is important to think about. And then you have things like socialising. So particularly in your first few weeks at the university, you might be wanting to go and chat to your new course mates. If you've moved out, you might want to chat more and go out with your housemates. Again, just a little cost which all adds up. And health. So if you need glasses or dental care or prescriptions, again, these are costs that can add up that it's important to look into. So with government funding, which is how you can actually fund your studies, we have the Students' Loan Company. So this is owned and run by government for students in the UK. So it's not a private company, lender or bank, and students apply for two loans, which we'll be going through in this presentation. So there's the tuition fee loan and there's the maintenance loan. So the tuition fee loan is what covers those course fees that we've talked about, which are up to £9,250 per year. So it's not based on household income and it's paid directly from the government to your college or university. And what that means is that that money won't come into your bank account, it will just go directly to the university to cover your tuition fees. It is repayable, but it means that nothing is paid up front. We have got the eligibility criteria on the screen here. So you need to be a UK citizen. You need to have lived in the UK for 3 years. You need to be studying in the UK, and this needs to be your first degree. And what that means is that you don't already have an undergraduate degree. You also, in contrast, then have the maintenance loan. So this is paid from the government to you. So this will come into your bank account, and it's paid to you in 3 instalments. So these instalments generally coincide with the start of term. So you'll usually get one in September, one in January, and one in April. The amount you receive is dependent on a couple of things. So it depends on where you study, where you live, and what your personal circumstances are. So we've just got here the entry figures for 2023, so for this academic year, and you can see that generally the higher the household income, the less maintenance loan you will receive. You'll see that if you're living with your parents or in the family home, you'll receive slightly less, and that's because there's an assumption that there'll be a parental contribution. So applying for student finance, when do you need to do things? So generally you'll apply online from early 2024, and what you'll have is in spring, you'll get your decision on how much student finance you'll actually receive. So for example, how much money you'll receive through the maintenance loan. In spring, you'll also be responding to your offers. So that's when you'll be making your firm and insurance choices. In summer, you'll get your results and confirm your place at the university that you'll be going to. And in autumn, that's when you'll start your course and receive your finance. So that's when you'll receive that first instalment of the maintenance loan. So how do you apply? So as we mentioned, you apply from early 2024. You don't need to have made your firm choice to start your application. You can update it later. So what that means is, obviously you've got your offer from Leeds. That's why you're here today. But if you're not sure whether Leeds is going to be your firm choice and maybe it's another, absolutely fine. You can put what you think is going to be your firm choice. And if you change your mind down the line, you can update it. We generally advise getting your application in earlier. You don't want to leave it until the summer period when you have made your firm choice. And that's because student finance receive a lot of applications then, and it can result in delays to your application being processed, which results in delays to you being paid. ID is required for the application, and that's usually in the form of a passport. You can also indicate if you want to apply for the disabled students allowance. And when student finance are assessing your entitlement, they'll look at your household income for the previous tax year. So for example, for 2024 entry for this year, they will be looking at the 2022-23 tax year. As mentioned, your tuition fees are paid directly to the university. You don't have to worry about setting up a tuition fee payment plan. And once you've registered at your university, your maintenance loan will be paid to you in those 3 instalments we've mentioned, which are roughly around the start of each term. And so the main one, repaying your loan. So you'll start repaying your loan if and when you earn over £25,000 per year, and this is from the April after you graduate. So repayments are taken directly from your wages, and they stop if your income falls below this threshold of £25,000. And what that means is that, again, you don't have to set up a repayment plan. It's taken from your wages and you don't have to worry about that. Your repayments are based on what you earn and not what you owe. And interest rates have been reduced. So they will only be added at the rate of inflation. And I know we say only at the rate of inflation, but this is lower compared to previous years of students. And any remaining loan is written off after 40 years. So one thing that we kind of say to students is it's less like repaying your loan and more like a graduate tax. And that can be helpful in trying to take into account what the repayments are going to look like and how they function. So we've just got an example here. So if after graduating your yearly salary is £35,000, you're earning £10,000 more than that threshold of £25,000, and you're repaid 9% of £10,000. So that works out at £900, so about £75 per month, and that will be taken from your wages. So liability. So if you're a full-time student, you'll become liable for a part of your tuition fee loan at the start of each term. So what that means is at the start of term 1, you're responsible for repaying 25% of the tuition fee loan. If it's at the start of term 2, you'll be liable to repay 50%, and term 3, 100% of the tuition fee loan. And what this means is that you'll remain responsible for repaying this even if you withdraw or suspend or transfer your studies at a later date. So for example, if you start at the university and in February you decide that this isn't the course or the university for you and you withdraw, you'll still be responsible for repaying 50% of the tuition fee loan you've received. So there are other sources of income, which I'll be going on to talk about in a little bit more detail. So for example, there are scholarships, ones based on personal circumstances or academic achievement or sport. There's also part-time work, so it is quite common for students to work alongside their studies, and we find that 15 hours per week during term time is advised, and we do support students in finding part-time employment. So we do have a fantastic career service here at the university, and we also have a job link service in the Students' Union, which helps students find flexible roles that fit around their studies. And there's also sometimes the parental contribution. So Martin Lewis has discussed extensively in the media about that sometimes hidden assumption of the parental contribution to university living costs, and there is a dedicated web page to this with more information. And so financial support. So what is available, and more importantly, how do you actually apply for this? So through the Students' Loan Company itself, there is the Disabled Students Allowance and Dependents Grants, and you'll be able to find out more about those on the Student Finance websites. There are scholarships and bursaries, and there's also the NHS Learning Support Fund. So again, that's something that's worth looking into if that is applicable to you. At Leeds, we have the Leeds Bursary. So this is non-repayable money to support your studies. So the amount you receive depends on your Student Finance England income assessment. So it's automatic, you don't have to apply for it. All you need to make sure that you do is when you're submitting your student finance application, it will ask, do you agree to have your information shared with your universities? Just make sure you tick yes to that box and you'll be then considered for the Leeds Bursary. It's not competitive, which means that everyone who qualifies will receive it. And it's worth up to £2,000 per year, depending on your situation. So a bit like the maintenance loan, the higher your household income, the less Leeds Bursary you will receive. There's also support for disabled students. So at the university, there is academic focused support. So that's things like inclusive teaching practices or reasonable adjustments, accessible rooms, extra time and note takers. And those are things that are in place that can support your academic side of university. There's funding, so we've briefly mentioned the Disabled Students Allowance, which can fund additional specialist support and resources if you need these. And there's also external providers, which it can be helpful to think about. So things like social services, care providers and charities, and this can be things like personal care, living skills, or support with transport. We'd always say to apply early and to disclose details of your disability and any support you need via UCAS. And you can also just directly get in touch with our disability services here at Leeds. And we'd advise that you do so that we can put everything in place to support you from the moment you start. So it means that when you start at the university, everything is ready for you to kind of seamlessly transition into university life. So going back to that kind of financial support, there is some automatic support which can be awarded based on grades. So the University of Leeds does award a generous range of scholarships for students at all levels of study in some academic schools. So these are usually available for the most talented candidates, and we consider all eligible applicants who demonstrate outstanding academic and personal achievements. For further information, have a look at the school or faculty webpage for your programme of study. And that's where you'll be able to see if they offer any academic scholarships and also find out more about who you can contact to ask about these. We also have the means tested scholarships. So if your household income is less than £42,875 a year, you might be eligible to apply for a means-tested undergraduate scholarship. So these are worth £3,000 a year for 3 years, and they're paid in cash instalments, which means they come directly to you at certain points throughout the year. These are non-repayable, and in addition to the financial support you can receive from the government. So they're on top of the tuition fee loan and the maintenance loan. You do need to meet the eligibility criteria to apply for this, but we would say that just meeting the eligibility criteria alone does not guarantee an award, so these are competitive. Would say you can apply for the means-tested scholarship before you've even made your firm and insurance choices with UCAS. So if you think you may be eligible, do get an application in. Even if you're not sure whether you'll be coming to Leeds, read it in. It's always fine to withdraw your application down the line if you decide not to come to Leeds. But if you decide to come to Leeds after the deadline has passed, we don't accept late applications. If you're awarded a scholarship, you will get pastoral care alongside this, alongside employability skills development. So in addition to that funding, you get more support offered through my team, the Plus programme. So talked a bit about the financial criteria, but just to kind of go over some of the non-financial eligibility criteria. We will also look at things like if you're the first in your family to attend higher education, if there's been any disruption to your personal, social or domestic life, if you're coming from an area with low levels of progression into higher education, which means there aren't many people going on to university. We look at if the student is care experienced or estranged, if they have caring responsibilities, or if they're a refugee or asylum seeker. So as you can see, there's a range of different things we take into account when assessing and awarding this scholarship. So the application deadline is midday on the 31st of May. You can find out more by visiting leeds.ac.uk/scholarships, or you can drop the team an email at ugscholarships@leeds.ac.uk. And as I've mentioned, even if you're not 100% sure on coming to Leeds but think you're eligible for the scholarship, get your application in, as we won't accept applications after that deadline of the 31st of May. And so you're at the university, so you're thinking, where am I going to go for financial support? And we'd say that whatever it is, we are here to support you. So when things don't go to plan, there is Leeds University Union there to support you. So whether you've got an issue with your house deposit, a bit of conflict with your housemates, or some teething issues settling in, or financial worries, the union is there to offer help as well as guidance and practical solutions. We'd remind you that this service is completely free and confidential, and they work independently from the university, so you're able to talk freely about the issues you may be having. So what that means is if you're struggling perhaps on your course and you're a bit worried that if you go and talk to them, will your tutors know you're struggling? Absolutely not. They will not share that information with the university. And similarly, if you're having issues with your housing or getting on with course or housemates, again, it's confidential and will stay with the service. So you can find out more about the kind of help and support that's offered through the union at the website at the bottom of the screen. And so just to kind of sum up with some useful websites, so I'd say research the financial support package at all the universities that you're considering attending, and to start your research early, so usually after Christmas, around this time of year, to start thinking about how you're going to be funding your undergraduate degree, what do you need to apply to, and when do you need to apply. You can find out more about our funding on the University of Leeds funding site. You can find out more about the various elements of student finance, like the tuition fee and maintenance loan on Student Finance England's website. There's a money saving expert impartial guide to student finance in England, just if you want a bit more help navigating that. And at the bottom, we also have our scholarships webpage, where you can find out more about scholarships at the University of Leeds. And so that brings us to the end of our presentation. So thank you very much for listening to me today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.